Okay, so let's get started. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Beth Robelia, and I've been doing online learning for 9 years now, going on 10. We used to send out kits so kids could take their kit and do something with it and do labs. We don't do that anymore because we had a 15% turn-in rate for that, which is really dismal. Obviously, we have 15% of the kids turning in labs. Even with me doing video instructions, we're very clear, this is how to do the lab, this is how to get your data, this is the lab sheet to fill out. It was still dismal. So we went to online labs. We went to online labs with K-12. K-12 is the provider of our curriculum. We're basically a big box school. We're run by a huge company that runs a lot of other schools. There's like 35 other virtual academies in the US. But I replaced all the labs because they were confirmation labs and they weren't super great. So I will show you what I've got. Hopefully you'll see something new. I'm sorry I'm not in presenter mode. I can't see any of you if I go into presenter mode, so I apologize for it looking a little less than professional. But so obviously you probably know a lot of the cons of doing online instruction. You just have to be much more communication. Motivation is a problem for anyone. I don't have the exact citation, but I was looking around for research this summer. Even Michigan Virtual Research Michigan, which does a lot, it runs a coalition of researchers on online engagement, online learning. The state of Michigan does a lot of online learning, and their success rate with pass rates on online courses are 55%. 80% they consider like exceptionally good. So if you're losing engagement, you're losing kids, you're in good company. It's really hard to keep them engaged when you go online. And so don't beat yourself up. I mean, obviously do your best, but know that things are probably going to get ugly if they have to spend some time online and they're going to not be quite as motivated. You can, however, still do all your good practices. You might not be able to plan and carry out investigations with what I'm going to show you, but there's a lot of good data. There's a lot of computational thinking. Here are my assumptions. Something's better than nothing, especially when you're not working directly with kids. Giving them something to do is probably better than giving them nothing to do. Concrete learning is still learning. Even if you give them a vocab quiz and a Quizlet, that's better than nothing. And survive now, don't burn yourself out. Someone in a PD I was in on Monday said, burnout makes you 70% worse as a professional. So self-care is important. So I'm just gonna burn through these and then we can go back to anything you want. Concord Consortium, I like this. I don't use a lot of these. We use them in other science courses. I do have a lab sheet that goes with one of these. We use the air pressure. They have a lot of argumentation skills in them. Do people want to see the website for this? Or do you know about High Adventure Science? They're nice because they're self-contained. Kids can work through them on their own. You can make a lab sheet or they can answer right in the program and you can check their answers. I can put this, so you don't have to take notes. I can put this in the chat if you want to see if I can do that while we're running. I don't know how to do that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Should be able to put it in the chat, but I can't. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So there's High Adventure Science, self-contained. That's kind of the, I was thinking that's what people were going to want. Here's PhET. For the ones, does everybody know about the cheaper J adaptation for PhET? The ones that are not HTML5 yet, there's a workaround. It's called Cheaper J, and I put something in the, I put just a whole separate document. in my Google Drive, and I can email it to you personally if you want. If you want to use PhET simulations that are not yet HTML5, they had a workaround. It does not work on the stuff from Concord Consortium, but I'll talk about that in a minute. If you don't have gizmos, I highly recommend leveraging your 30-day trial, free trial. They've got really good stuff for chem. Their STEM, their STEM case studies are really, really good. I just did one today. I finished one up on osmosis. They have a calf. A calf is having seizures. You have to save the calf as a vet tech. It's all about getting water to travel from the brain back into the bloodstream and all of the different things you need to consider in order for osmosis to happen in that direction. Lots of good molecular views, lots of practical real world skills, lots of data, lots of lab testing. I really like STEM case studies, and they're also aligned with the new standards. Obviously, they're a little expensive for some people to have more than, after 30 days, it's $750 for 200 students. So it's pretty spendy, but leverage your 30-day trial. You can probably fit 4 STEM cases in a month, and I would go for it. If you want to be really crafty, you could get one of your English colleagues to sign up for another 30 days and use their account. So here's my chem class. I had them do a STEM case on homeostasis because there was a lot of good chemistry for just kind of intro to scientific method, electron configuration, periodic trends. You can download their lab sheets, not on the STEM cases, but you can download their lab sheets on here. It's pretty slick. YouTube, I have a lot of YouTube videos. I don't know how many. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. People are kind of freaked out by putting themselves on. How many people have a YouTube? Nobody? Yeah? Okay, good. Okay, I won't, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I video myself going through sims a lot. And then students can use that later. It's better than a recording because some recordings are kind of clunky, at least in our system, to record our synchronous lectures. They're hard to use, a little bit clunky, and I can usually get through it in about 15 minutes in a YouTube, where it takes me the whole 45 to go through it with a bunch of students who are asking questions. So that's something to consider. The other thing to consider is you can throw your lab video in a PlayPosit or an ed puzzle for special ed, because how to get how to get special ed students through your sims is something to consider as well. My special ed students were really struggling trying to get through the sim and fill out the lab sheet and keep up with the class. And so they have their own system where I video myself doing the sim and then put it in a PlayPosit and ask them questions. Does everybody know PlayPosit Ed Puzzle, that system? Okay, that's my next. I don't know Ed Puzzle, I'm not presenting on Ed Puzzle, but it works pretty much the same way. You put a video up in one of these systems and you can ask kids questions as they go through the video, and it's a way to make sure they're actually watching the video, and then you can get their score. It's a good formative assessment, or you can use it as a summative assessment. Most of you probably know Quizlet. I use that a lot. It's obviously not great in inquiry thinking, but it does pre-teach for a lot of the reading. And actually, I asked my A students, I asked them if they wanted to skip it because it seemed like busy work for them, and they're like, no, we really like it. It's concrete, we learn a lot, please keep doing it. So if you need a day where kids aren't with you, you can make a Quizlet for them, and then you can make a quiz based on the vocab words. Not great, but it's something. It keeps them moving forward. It gets them ready for your lecture the next day, especially in bio, where you have so many diagrams and so much vocab. You can pull diagrams into Quizlet and label the diagrams, and then kids can work with the diagram, and that's pretty slick. if you haven't seen that. Okay, molecular workbench runs on Java. Not terribly useful unless you can get it to run on Java and want to use it as a demo. They have some really, really good stuff. Their one on chemical bonding, like I could barely find, I can't really find anything else that's as good. I'm using Gizmos this year, but the chemical bonding one, I actually videotaped myself doing it, and I would make kids watch that, me doing the sim, because it was that good. So if you have a computer that will still run Java, it's a great demo. They have a next gen out, a next gen molecular workbench, which is, they only have 6 of them. They're sort of more middle schooly, but if you have a special ed kid that you can't get to do another lab, this might be a good alternative. Or if you teach middle school, there you go. If you don't know the Concord Consortium collections, there's a lot of really powerful data analysis stuff. And I haven't dived into this as much as I should because my content is kind of pre-organized for me, and they shoved a ton more stuff in there. So I haven't really had time to go into this really cool stuff. Graph literacy is, this stuff's great for math. The Code app, if you really want to do a deep dive into doing data analysis, they have a really good game called Stebbins that uses Code app. And I looked at using it last year, but it was just far too complicated for my students. And far too complicated for me to learn quickly in order to teach to my students. But it looked really interesting. It was for ecology and actually natural selection. It's kind of like the chips game where you kind of put the chips down on the wrapping paper and like see how many they can find. Has anyone done that in biology or natural selection, or, you know, glitter or whatever sequins, whatever you got? More, if you teach physical science, this is really great. Does anybody know about 2D and 3D energy? This is a good deep dive into some really good heat transfer stuff and energy transformation stuff. I've used a little bit of it in class. I've more used it as a demo. I don't have lab sheets on this, but it's something that you could demo, you could talk about, you could have kids get into. I think they have some activities that are all ready to go. It works on a number of different things, Mac, Raspberry Pi, Windows. So hopefully you can get to work on whatever kids are using. Or you could do it as a demo. Not great, but if you are still stuck in hybrid or online mode for titrations later second semester, I use this. It's Royal Society of Chemistry. I don't think a lot of people know about this one. They actually have quite a bit. They also refer you to FET, but they have a titration screen experiment that's really good, and my students were able to get through it with minimal confusion and pretty good learning. So it's worth a look, and it's free, so that's good. PlayPosit, I can show you how to use PlayPosit. That's my whole next thing. It works a lot like Edpuzzle. If you know Edpuzzle, you throw a video in there. I just threw my green in there with carbon. It gives you options for what you want to do, what kind of questions you want to ask, when you want to ask them. I just put a funny question in. How do you feel about Hank Green? Some of my kids love him. Some of my kids hate him. As you go through the video, it will force kids to stop, and they have to answer the question to go forward. So as they watch the video, you can ask questions, you can ask all kinds of different questions, and kind of assess their understanding. It kind of makes them actually watch the video. I use it for special ed lab modifications. I use it for special ed tests. I write questions on a video and then we do tests that way for my kids that are really low. And that's kind of the spiel I have. I went through it really fast with the idea of going into anything you've got. Otherwise, I can show you what I've got on my, kind of give you the 2-minute tour of my Google Drive, which doesn't have anything amazing on it, but it has things that are done and that are self-contained, so that if you need something for tomorrow, because you're got a bunch of students who you're not working with tomorrow, but still need something to do, I can make that, I can help you with that. So does anybody have any requests at this point? I wasn't sure anyone was going to show up, so. And I had no idea what people would want, so I tried to do my best to
So I just posted a link to your Google Drive if you want to maybe just show them what's in there.
Sure, we can do that. Let me get going here. Oh, thanks, Amy, for posting all that. Let me pull my. Make sure I don't share anything that I shouldn't share here. And I apologize for the hat. I was silly enough to have my husband give me a haircut. So I have COVID hair. Okay, nothing earth-shattering, but something that might be helpful and save you a little bit of time is here is every biology topic I do first semester and second semester, I found a video for it. So it's there for you. Obviously, you can find your own YouTube videos, but if you need something for tomorrow, done. Have the same thing in chemistry. Biology, I have the most. Science methods, cells and biological molecules, semester 2, ecology, evolution. There's a bunch of online labs in here. Some of them, this one is diffusion. It's based on a Concord Consortium molecular workbench. I did it as, I put it on YouTube. The kids watch me do it on YouTube. Is it amazing? No, but it's done and it's finished and they can do it on their own. I've actually converted this lab to gizmos in my own classroom, so I don't use this anymore. Let's see. Chemistry resources. All the PhET stuff I use, you've probably got all that. Here's the titration lab that goes along with the Royal Society of Chemistry. Here's the PhET Java workaround. If there's a favorite PhET you have that's not HTML5 yet, you can work around with the cheaper J software. They're not perfect, but they work. Solubility, here's an interesting one. CK12 has some really good interactives, and this solubility lab uses some of their interactives. Some of them are not super awesome, but they do have a lot of good solubility ones, and I kind of put a whole solubility lab together that's self-contained. They can work through all the interactives. So that's there for you if you need it. Physical science, you've got PhET, I've got PhET. I tweaked some of the lab sheets. I have some of my own. There you go. And that's about it. I also have a list of chemistry videos for all the chem topics. I think I have the embed codes in there. If you can embed in your LMS, learning management system, if you have Schoology or something. If you're working with Classroom, I don't think you can embed, you just link. Let's see Earth science. We do have one lab sheet that's written up for the Concord Consortium High Adventure Science. It's on, it's for integrated class. One of my colleagues did this. It's a lab using their air pollution sim, which is pretty good. And you could probably work in a lot of their sims in High Adventure Science to a lot of classes. Some of them, let's see if I can open this instead. So this one could probably, the new chemistry standards, the next gen standards, there's a freshwater one, so you could work that into chemistry. You could probably work this into biology somehow. Climate change, you can work into biology, feeding a growing population. So you could kind of bend some of these if you really needed something, and they're nice because they are contained. The kids kind of work themselves through the sim. I'll preview it here. It's nice because they cover argumentation, which a lot of other curriculums don't cover argumentation, and this is in the new science standards. In terms of the processes. So I really like this in terms of the argumentation aspects. And then they ask you, why do you think there's uncertainty? Why is there, a difference between a scientific argument and a regular argument? You can look at this. It's pretty solid. It's free. Solid and free are kind of two adjectives that kind of worked for me at this point. Here's the next generation molecular workbench. Let's look at one of these. This is kind of an also self-contained. This is a little bit shorter, kind of better for middle school, but it'd work for high school biology if you were desperate for something to just, have them work through on their own. They have lots of these. I'm sure you've all seen these little kind of vignettes of kind of sims to play around with transcription, translation. They have a lot of great little sims in Concord. How many people are familiar with Concord? Everybody? That's one that's, it's a deep dive. There's a lot of stuff on Concord Consortium for both chemistry, physics, biology, earth science. They've got something for everyone. And if you haven't been there to their main page, they've got whole curriculums. They've got Geniverse it's like dragon genetics. They've got it for middle school. They've got it for high school. You can work through the whole thing. It's kind of more meant for people like all in the same classroom working together, but you could make it work online as well. It's all free. It's all really good. It's all based on NSF research. So it's just high quality stuff and it's very free. And it's why I'm arguing for them to do more self-contained stuff for folks who are online and are going to continue to probably be on. I mean, we have to face it. Online is going to be kind of part of our lives, whether it's hybrid or fully online for the next couple months and maybe even the rest of the year. I hope not, but yeah. So kind of having some resources in your back pocket, even if there's a snow day, it's nice to have something. Because I think even snow days now are probably going to go away since we're so good at online. We never have snow days because I'm in an online school all the time. We did have one cold day 2 years ago because our office staff couldn't get in. Other than that. So anything else you want? I feel like I've just gone through things really fast. If there's anything you want me to go back to and explain more how I use it, or if you have a particular thing you're doing tomorrow you want something for, or next week, I can help with individual questions. Let me know.
Beth, this was great. I'm just taking mad notes here, and I think I just need to play with it and go through some of our lessons with and send it to my department. So thank you very much for
Oh,
being
no
here.
worries.
For,
Go.
for
If you've
sharing.
got better things to do, go do them.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I think I would have a lot more questions after playing with it, and just running through. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Anything else? Anybody else have something they're doing tomorrow they need something for? I'll stop sharing and look at the chat here. Sim bucket, awesome.
Actually, do you have anything for early elementary?
Early elementary, not my jam, but Concord Consortium does. Let's go look, because I'm totally curious. I know they do have some, I don't know if it's early elementary because it's on computer, but let's go look. I know they have some like grow a garden, kind of cool. Let me just demo this because it's a good thing to kind of have in your back pocket. This is their resource finder. You can go down here. Let's go up here. So you hit the resources button up here. And then you can, well, that's all there. There's Energy 3D, 2D, CodeApp, which is a great, I mean, it's so awesome. It would take me a while to learn how to run it. Graph literacy, maybe, let's see. Where is their STEM resource finder? There we go. Okay, so yeah. Elementary, browser-based searching. There you go. Bridges, air pollution, aerial, building a bungee jump, building a zip line, buildings and earthquakes. I haven't ever worked with any of these, so I don't know. They say K6, so I don't know if it's early elementary, but I think CK12 might have some stuff that's for elementary, but it would take me a second to go find it. Any other questions while I'm digging for CK12 stuff? Anybody else have any good stuff to share?
Somebody in the chat shared Pear Deck.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good for posting your slides.
Yeah, I've been doing Pear Deck since we've done distance learning, and it's a nice way of getting the kids to interact with you since they're not in the classroom, you can't see them. And so it's frustrating, but then they can click on things. You can put a picture of a cell up and say, okay, where's the mitochondria? And they can like click on that. And so it's a really nice way to see kind of where they're at too. And that's one too, that you have a 30-day free trial for the really good version, but the basic version isn't bad either.
Something that I've been using that's not necessarily interactive, but it's really a good assignment for kids. If you need something for your at-home learners on a day when maybe you're doing a lab with your in-person learners. I really like data nuggets. They're short, self-contained articles, and they make students do real data analysis. Every one of their data nuggets is on actual research, published research that's very recent. And the ones I'm using this year are for my environmental science class. But they make the kids really analyze real data, and the questions are fairly brief. And I'm using them as claim evidence reasoning. And so those are pretty slick, and it didn't take me much. They actually have articles that are about 4 pages long. They might ask the kids to make a graph, and then from their graph, they make a claim, then they cite 3 pieces of evidence, and then they do their reasoning. And I really like those because they're fairly self-contained, again, for kids who might be completely virtual.
Cool. Data nuggets. I'm gonna have to check that one out. I put up the CK12 interactions. Some of them might be appropriate for early elementary. I'll just share these quick. Let's see. Like the stadium wave, just explaining waves. I don't know exactly what you're looking for. Magnifying glass lenses are probably too, it depends on kind of what level of questions you ask, of course. Roller coaster kinds of things, I don't know. I would probably go with, I would dig through the Concord stuff. There's chemistry ones too. This is what I used for simulations, an option for simulation lab. I also had a different one that was more complex based on a Pearson lab, which I'm not supposed to use because they're our competition. So these are great, just like in-class demos. You could ask a bunch of questions on them. They're pretty slick. I really like this one because it looks exactly like real life here in Minnesota. It's a truck spreading salt. So it talks about, you know, how does salt melt ice? It's, you know, real life. Especially, I think we do it in February, so. So CK12 interactives, that works. Other questions? Sorry, I don't have any. If I find stuff for early elementary, I'll send it to you. I believe Gizmos, if you can afford it, has a ton of good stuff for elementary. I did talk to somebody who was talking to the Mayo folks, and Mayo was wondering, you know, about the trailers, how they were going to run the trailers this year, since, you know, they can't have a lot of kids interacting with lab equipment just because of the whole sanitation issues. And you might be able to get sponsored for Gizmos. You might be able to share one account with a couple teachers. I don't know. Or leverage that 30-day free trial.
I'm putting one more link in the chat. All of the links that we have put in there, I will have Carrie post to the resources page. So they're all in one place for you as well. And then the link to Dr. Robelia's Google Drive will be in there as well.
Yeah, I'll put my PowerPoint in the Google Drive eventually. It just wasn't finished. Anything else I can do for anyone?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for sharing. I learned some stuff too. Win-win.
So our next session will start at 6:35. So you've got a bit of a break, but please come back. And there's 4 different options for that session. So I may see some of you back in this room when Dr. Robelia dives a little deeper into PlayPosit. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye everybody. Thanks for participating.